Hey, what is up? This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oakridge Ford, back in business Sunday, June 28th, 2020. I'm Norm in London, Ontario, joined as always by my podcast partner in crime, the one, the only Michael P. Jello from Cheektowaga, New York. Mr. A, how are you?
Good afternoon, Norm. I'm well. It's sunny in Buffalo, and with every day we get closer to training camp and potentially a Stanley Cup playoff.
Hey, did you hear the big news? The Leafs Convo Twitter account has been suspended by Twitter because it's just so controversial.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that we were like the Canadian Antifa or something like,
No,
what
we
the
have
hell?
heavy stuff, Mike, heavy stuff. We are so rabid on social media, and Twitter just couldn't handle it anymore. That link post that I put out in late May set the entire medium on fire, and Twitter had to suspend the account. Honestly, though, I have no clue why the account was suspended. We barely ever use it. I did have a few followers and listeners of the podcast reach out to me this morning trying to explain that it may have something to do with the advertising that's embedded in the Leafs Convo links. I don't know if somebody has something against Ford. You know, the 2021 F-150 was just unveiled. Perhaps somebody doesn't like the design and decided to complain about the Leafs Convo's association with Ford. I have no clue. And here's the thing, Mike. I don't know how far down the rabbit hole I want to go with Twitter. It's so monolithic. Trying to reach out to this company and corporation is and actually deal with somebody is next to impossible. So maybe the Leafs Convo Twitter account will stay suspended for the foreseeable future, based on the fact I don't know how much I want to put into trying to resuscitate it. I don't know.
Oh boy. Well,
I know. First world problems. We've got all sorts of other things to deal with, but yeah, I don't know. Let's start a movement. Anyway, Mike, I digress. So the Leafs training camp, raring to go here. I mean, what, a week and a half away, and then by the end of July, we should see this 24-team tournament kick off. Can't wait for it. Toronto, most likely the Eastern Conference, Eastern portion hub city. I think that's a good idea. Have at it, Mike. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking more and more encouraging that from what I remember, we had John Shannon on the Buzzcast a couple weeks ago, and he had indicated that, and he didn't indicate on the Buzzcast, but further on did that ideally the NHL would like one city in the Eastern time zone, one in the Western, so they could play as many as 5 games during one particular day and have the time difference be a factor in it because they don't want to start playoff games at 10 o'clock in the morning, West Coast. So I think that they want that Eastern Western breakdown. They were apparently in line to have Vancouver, and then that was squelched. There was some Board of Health problems in British Columbia, but the Alberta government in Edmonton and the Ontario government with Toronto are both on board with what the NHL is doing. And I think the advantages of Toronto, especially after they readjusted their bid. Apparently, what they had originally planned was to have a number of hotels around the Scotiabank Arena, which, us both knowing Toronto, there are a number of hotels near the arena, and sort of that bubble concept. But now they've switched it to a hotel down on Lakeshore called Hotel X, which is a 400-room hotel that would serve as the centerpiece for where all the players would be, and exercise facilities at BMO and Coca-Cola Coliseum and the Raptors practice facility, all servicing. There's just I'm sure Ford Performance Center as well for practice. So there's so many rinks and there's so many places where they could stay. I think that Toronto has the advantage. And I mean, apparently it would be the East in Toronto and the West in either Vegas or Edmonton. So I think we're probably going to hear that probably Monday or Tuesday. At least that's the indications.
This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oakridge Ford. Norm with Mike. Do you think, with all of the recent spikes of COVID-19 and coronavirus throughout much of the United States that it would be a good idea to get everybody up into Canada? And
Well, the problem here is, and obviously there's no vaccine, there's no cure, and as we've seen from these areas that have spiked recently, they were the areas that didn't spike before. So you could say it's like a situation where, okay, it's not pervasive right now in Edmonton. Well, that means it could be pervasive in Edmonton in a month because it hasn't been there previously. So it's sort of a hit. It's sort of like a whack-a-mole type of situation where you think you're going the right place and then it could be the wrong place. I mean, Vegas had 1,000 cases over the last few days, but again, if they manage this bubble concept well, which means off the strip, away from people, sequestered, then it shouldn't. Those spikes shouldn't be a factor in their decisions. Now, I think Vegas is in the lead. I know that LA and Chicago have been their sort of disaster backups for either the Toronto bid or for Vegas. So I think it's going to be Toronto and Vegas, and I think that they're not going to worry about the spike. They're going to worry more about players getting infected, and as we've seen with other athletes and other sports, the only way that you prevent yourself from being infected is by acting responsibly and not mingling. And
yeah, Mike, so intriguing, so risky. OGs and converts having their say in comments. Mark Wilson, just cancel the season. Just saying. Archipelago 2 chimes in. There are still way too many COVID cases in the U.S. and Canada. Of course, many players are going to get it regardless. I say forget this season. I'm hearing that a lot, Mike. I'm hearing it a lot, and I know people are quietly rooting for something to happen. We all want to see hockey, but again, these are risky times. These are uncharted times. So what do we do about this?
Well, it's clear to me that the NHL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA, and the NHL is in a different boat, but they're all going to forge forth. If one person gets tested positive, I mean, we saw 11 a couple weeks ago from the NHL. I think it was 16 in the NBA. Now they're a few weeks away from training camp, so that's those numbers. It's only 5%. That's actually not bad. But with the NHL, the financial ruin that comes with not playing the playoffs, the owners and the players are unified on this. And the thing is, the only way that the season is going to get shut down is if there is a massive positive for like one particular team that makes it impossible for them to play. They're going to put this through because they're negotiating a CBA, understanding between the two sides about escrow and about a few other things. If the season doesn't happen, escrow could be 30%, and we've seen things from Artemi Panarin and Ryan Kessler about how vehemently opposed they are of escrow. Well, that's the deal that they've made in terms of a 50-50 split of revenue. So it's a reality, and it has to be dealt with, and it's going to be even worse of a situation if they don't forge forward and play the playoffs.
These billion-dollar sports leagues, Mike, putting dollars over health, right? I mean, for me, I don't know. We've got to move on at some point. You're going to have a large faction of fans who typically support these leagues, these billion-dollar leagues, believing that they are putting money and the need to resuscitate business over the need to batten down the hatches and continue to fight this thing that is the coronavirus and that is still running rampant throughout the United States. Dollars over health. OG's converts, have your say in the comment section, or you can do it in community. Let us know how you feel about this. We already know that a lot of you think the season should just be put on ice, to use a pun, and an appropriate pun. But I know there are a lot of people who quietly are hoping something goes down. And again, it's so risky. It is so intriguing. Any word on Auston Matthews, how he's doing?
No, there hasn't been. I don't think there will be until July 10th when training camp opens, because you have a situation where, now I know in the U.S. it's the HIPAA laws regarding outing somebody in terms of illness or any kind of health situation that the situation is that TSN and Sportsnet are part owners of the Leafs, and they probably legally can't come out and say what the status is of Auston Matthews. And I'm sure on July 10th, it'll be, I think, 3 weeks. At that point, he probably will be on the ice, or probably that we'll get a statement from the Leafs at that point to say how close he is. So I don't think we're going to find out anything more until then.
Knowing about Auston Matthews is only required because we want him to be better. We want him to get over this thing, just like anyone else who's contracted coronavirus. That's it. I'm not into the gossip. I'm not looking to pry into the guy's life, but I mean, he's a public figure, and when someone like that becomes ill, there's concern among the fan base, and I'm hoping that all is well and that this guy can get back on the ice and contribute to a Leafs run in this tournament that is certainly going to be contentious and controversial. And, in the end, hopefully, is one that goes off with a few hiccups and not too many, and will be viewed a success when all is said and done. Any last words, Mike?
Well, I think the interesting, and I'm going to write about this tomorrow, but we'll just mention it here. The NHL draft lottery that occurred on Friday, just opened up let's just say a very interesting narrative over the next few weeks, because we won't find out who has the number one pick in the draft until after the play-in round is completed. And for the 8 teams that lose in the play-in round, they will have a 12.5% chance of drafting Alexis Lafreniere with the first pick, and to the detriment of Ottawa and LA and Detroit and a few other teams that were hoping to get that top pick. That means if the Toronto Maple Leafs lose in the first round to Columbus, which I think it's a very even series, it can go either way. Everybody is probably favoring the Leafs a little bit because they have more offensive talent, but Columbus overachieved under John Tortorella, and they will be a tough out because they match up, as we've talked about on this show before, they match up well because they're a defensive team that plays an aggressive style, and the Leafs usually don't play well against that. If they lose, the consolation might be they get the first pick in the draft. And and I'm going to write tomorrow about what that effect would have on the Leafs, because with the salary cap likely staying flat, if they could bring in a young player like Lafreniere as a player who could replace somebody who's making a lot more money, that would free up and give Kyle Dubas a lot of room in terms of being able to. But that's that's assuming a lot. That's assuming they lose in the first round. That's assuming they win the lottery. It's a lot of assumptions, but we've already reached the first step, because now one of those 8 teams, an Edmonton, a Chicago, a Montreal, a Pittsburgh, they could have the best player in this draft.
Yeah, Mike, the draft and next season and a lot of things that are really just a fantasy right now are so far away. We haven't even begun training camp for this contentious 24-team tournament that still may not happen. It's planning to happen. The league wants it. The players want it. I know fans do. But there's just so many things that need to take place between now and July 10th, and then mid-July, and then the end of the month, and then the start of this tournament, that we need to see some sort of process, some fluidity, some cohesion, because there's just so many things that could derail what we are hoping is going to be a relatively seamless tournament, with the Leafs winning it and then having an asterisk applied to any statement of celebration that the Leafs have finally won the Stanley Cup. AA from the comment section: it's time for hockey and everything else. If this lockdown goes any longer, I think it will cause more harm than the virus itself. Good video, guys. As always, not a bad way to wrap up another podcast. Make sure to follow Mike, hockeybuzz.com. You can see what I'm doing on Facebook at Norm at Oakridge Ford. I'm also on Instagram. Mike is too. Shoot us a follow. And then we'll keep you posted on the Leafs Convo Twitter account being suspended because it is huge news. It is not trending, rest assured. Mike, let's get to another podcast here in the near future, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Norm.